So today we'll be talking about AI is rewriting the CMS. Are we ready? What are the issues with governance, risk, responsibility in today's modern CMS teams? Um, and then, thank you for having me as a presenter. My name is Akshay Sura. I've been doing Sitecore for a very long time, been in the IT space for a very long time. A couple of the things which I'm very, very proud of is Sitecore Hackathon is something that I've started and continue to run. Sitecore Slack is something that I started, continue to run along with the help of all the admins. And then, the very first Sitecore North America was something that Mike and I were part of, which was really nice. So this session is not a demo. It doesn't have any concept of a demo. It's not anti-AI. It's not fear-driven. It's not about something that teams are already. It's about something that teams are already experiencing, but we don't know what to call it. AI isn't just a feature anymore in terms of CMS. A lot of CMS vendors are trying to add a flavor of AI, but it is changing how we build, how we deploy, how we personalize, how we govern our digital experience. Right? The question is not whether your team is using AI; it's whether your team is governing it knowingly as to what they're doing, which is the interesting part. So last month, I watched one of the developers write a prompt instead of writing code, right? So I was like, that's interesting. Like, have you written any pseudocode? Have you created a design document, or did you just type in a prompt? And the interesting part is this prompt, like any other prompt, generated hundreds of lines. It compiled fine. It passed the QA test that the person had set up. Um, it was serialized and it was deployed, right? What made me think is 6 months from now, if something happens to the code that the person built, how do we understand it? Did we document what prompt built this, right? Uh, and it's interesting because what if you give the same prompt multiple times to the same agent, multiple times to a different AI? Because none of what I'm saying is rare anymore. Pretty much everyone in the tech space is using AI. Pretty much every developer is using AI. It's one of the most adopted things ever in the human race that we know of. The way AI has been picked up not just by regular people for regular tasks to remind them of things, but also all the tech people, right? Um, so that starts to create this underlying set of problems, which is really, really interesting. So for years, CMS was very predictable. We told the CMS what to do. Here's my template. Um, here's my rendering. We defined the rules. We configured the pipelines. Um, and the platform did what we asked it to do. Of course, were there bugs? Sure. Did we find and fix them? Sure. For the most part, it was pretty clear as to what the system did, what we wanted it to do. Um, we also knew who built it. We could know, looking at the code, this is exactly what someone did, and if it broke, we know who to call, right? Um, Today, we are in a very different mode. So AI can help scaffold components. It can build logic for personalization. It can generate content. It can suggest different patterns depending on the traffic that you get. Um, and that changes something, right? Now, authorship becomes shared. It could be a human being, it could be AI changing it. The responsibility is also distributed. It no longer like, oh, this code change was done by this person, or this component was created by another person. The rules, just because of the want for AI, is so much that we no longer, it's not a human being who's responsible anymore. What do I mean by that is if you're letting AI auto-generate personalization, A/B testing, content, components, if something breaks in there, who are you going to complain to, right? Like you, first of all, it would be hard for you to find what exactly happened because of the numerous amounts of tests it does. I mean, this doesn't really mean that the system's broken. It just means that we are operating under a different assumption. It's no longer predictable. Um, it's no longer one person or a group of people being responsible for. And when authorship and responsibility become shared, then who owns it is the question. And if we don't define that clearly, then it becomes super risky. And slowly, over a period of time, it becomes more dangerous because now at this point you will have more of the things that AI is doing and less of the things that you are doing. So it becomes difficult. And I know all of these are questions, but these are the questions that affect all of us, right? So in terms, so the term floating around right now, which everyone and their mother uses, is vibe coding. So you specify a prompt in plain English. It spits back something at you. You tweak it a little bit. It spits back code. It spits back documentation. You try to do the best. You don't even need to know the language anymore. You don't need to know React. You don't need to know Next. And like, oh, is it failing? Why is it failing? Fix the build. The site's not working. The color is wrong. And so you're basically talking to this agent until you can commit. It's fine. You deploy it, and some users are even deploying it to the production instances. So someone from marketing, someone from data analytics is able to build a site and they push it up to prod. And this is where it's interesting and it's also super scary is the bars quietly moved from I understand this implementation to it works. So what's the problem? Right? Like what is the problem if it looks like what I want, if it acts like what I want? It's AI is able to generate everything that I want. It's able to lower the cost. What is the problem? I don't see a problem with that. It works. So that's the interesting part is when we are doing all of this over a period of time and you're letting AI make the decisions, AI do everything, um, over a period of time you start to accumulate a compounded amount of technical debt because you simply don't understand what's being developed. So if AI generated configurations which enter your pipeline without any review, they become part of your architecture. Partial scripts written by prompts, which we all do, without even checking if the script is good. Integration logic, no one really understands because it generated 3,000 lines of code. But guess what? It works. So what is the problem? um, Security assumptions, authentication model, you can go crazy. Like one of the blog posts that I recently wrote is because of that is a few individuals from a division of this huge company were using AI to integrate a e-commerce system into their ERP. One developer in the entire group. No one's doing QA. That his thing is they are letting us do it, so what is the problem? It works, so what is the problem? And I had to take the time to say, well, it works right now. What are you going to do 6 months from now? What if this happens? And unfortunately, that specific group of people were like, well, it doesn't bother me because it works and my company is letting me do it. Okay. Anyway, so I've seen like teams deploy AI generated serialized item. It look pretty harmless, right? It works, it serializes, it works, it doesn't break. But a few weeks later, I've actually seen those break during publishing. And we spent like 2 days looking at what exactly happened. Nobody knows what prompt was used to build it. No one knows who did it. We just know who checked in. And that's the new shape of technical debt. And I know it sounds bad, but this is all stuff that we all need to recognize that it's happening. So hopefully, um, we recognize this technical debt. It's arriving a lot faster. It hides better. It costs the same, if not more, to fix. And that's the interesting part is we're all dealing with customers, we're all dealing with projects, we're all dealing with AI. It's not going to go away. It's our job to figure out a proper way to do this. And this is the scary part of AI is what exactly is happening. And now that we talked about from the development perspective, right? So now let's look at it from a marketing perspective. Now the game completely changes. So AI tools built into CMS platform, Sitecore AI, for instance, right? Rightfully so, they enable marketers to generate content at scale. They're able to schedule, here's the whole thing to do with this campaign. I want it to go live at this time. I want it to do this. I want it to do that. We have 50 variants in minutes. We have landing pages for multiple regions. We have translations, which we can do pretty fast, right? Um, I watch teams light up the moment they see, oh my gosh, we don't need a developer anymore. We can build a page as whatever we want. We can translate, we can create content variation. I could do anything and everything that I want. But here's the thing. Say there's 12 regional pages generated, 3 references, a feature, is not available in those markets. No one catches it because the output looks nice. Who's checking these variations? So I created variations in multiple different languages. I'm a marketer. How am I checking every single variation? And that's, we're only talking a very small number, right? No one catches it. Output gets published because we magically generated it with AI. Everything looks fine on 1 or 2 variations. The content looks polished, but it's wrong. Uh, three of the references are not available in the markets that they want to publish to, but no one checked it. So if the output increases 5 times, but review stays the same, something has to break, right? So there's no proper cycle anymore of workflows. How are you going to keep on top of so much AI generated campaigns, content, personalization from a marketer's perspective? We haven't changed our governance model. We haven't pushed all of these through workflows. But guess what? If you pushed hundreds of these items through workflow, would the marketer then feel like it's great? Would the marketer feel like they'll go through and approve each one, test each one to see how it works? I don't know the answer to that, but that's what we're seeing. So this one is actually super interesting because just the other day I was working on, like 2 days ago, I did a demo on this AI CMS that I built. And one of the partway through that, I was trying to regenerate Konabos' homepage. And he was actually no matter how many guardrails, guidelines I provided, he was hallucinating content. Like he was bringing content from other agencies. He was bringing other MVPs and all of that fun stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. Like I don't want you to do it. I want you to use what I have on the site. I don't need external content, and you have to constantly give the guidance. But AI suggests personalization rules, right? If a visitor views the pricing page twice, show a 15% discount. Sounds like a normal personalization rule any one of us would do. But if that pattern is not validated against segmentation data, or if the model infers that it's because it seemed plausible, right? It's making decisions for itself. Now, imagine that rule runs for a weekend. 40,000 visitors see a discount, nobody approved, right? 15% off, right? This is not a personalization bug. Uh, this is a revenue changing event. So personalization touches money, it touches privacy. AI-assisted logic should be reviewed with the same seriousness of financial institutions, especially if you're a product company. So I'll just give you the math, right? So if you left this the entire weekend and it showed 15% discount, and if 100 people bought the product, is your company willing to lose that 15% margin on 100 orders? The answer is probably not. Like you're not, you have to anticipate it. But you did let AI make that decision without you being the stopgap to approve or deny it. And that's what we're trying to get to. So everything comes down to governance. So engineering people care about architecture, marketing cares about velocity, legal cares about risk, right? We all go through this every single time when you're working with enterprise customers. The funny thing about this is AI can accelerate all three. It can accelerate the architecture, it can accelerate the velocity at which marketing wants to move, and it can also accelerate the risk that will happen if you're making decisions automatically. Um, the way AI is moving is it's moving faster than it's giving teams to understand the alignment between each other, right? So if engineering doesn't communicate with marketing, doesn't communicate with legal in the same fast pace, all three are trying to move or all three are trying to work, then we have a different problem. So engineering adopts AI for development without legal knowing that this is what's happening. Imagine if legal knew we are making decisions on uh, orders, if your C-suite knew that we are making decisions on giving discounts. That would be a different conversation than them finding out after the fact, if they are not communicated, right? If marketing is scaling content without architectural oversight, they're like, oh, I'm just going to build a site, brochureware site. It works fine. I don't need to involve a developer. At some point, it does fall into the engineering. Um, the whole governance is what I'm trying to get to, and is that all of this happens so silently that it happens in the background silently, and the governance gaps happen silently, and it all comes down to governance. So if you're not keeping each other, we are expecting a major mess in 6 to 8 months from now of what might happen if everyone continues to use AI the way we are doing AI, right? Uh, this is what you hear all the time. But AI makes us faster. AI makes us do better. They are using it. Our competitors are using it. AI is good enough to use it. So what's wrong with it is what you're going to see. If it works, what's the problem? Um, what you need to, as practitioners, right? You're helping build this and you're helping propagate this. Is Yeah, AI does make it faster, but faster doesn't mean better, right? When leadership says we need to move faster, our competitors are doing it, why don't we do it? The guardrails that we want don't slow us down, they just make us do a better work, right? Imagine the rework that you have to do of unreviewed AI code. That's going to be crazy. Um, yeah, when they say the competitors are already using AI, some of them may be accumulating risk that they haven't measured yet. They just don't know what they don't know until something breaks or until something happens. When they say AI is good enough, it's good enough to generate. It's not good enough to validate itself 100%, right? We still need checks and balances like we've always had. Why does software development work? Why does software development engineering work? Is that over decades, we have set up a process of this is what happens, and we've slowly added. If you look at the standard SDLC, It's changed, but not drastically. It's the same process that we follow. You always do QA. There's penetration testing. There's all kinds of things that you do before something goes into production. This is still our job. Our job is to advise our customers. Our job is to advise whether you work for a customer, whether you work for an agency, you still have someone who you answer to, and that's our job. So there's four guardrails for using AI responsibly. This is not stopping us from using AI. This is about about stopping the way we use unsupervised AI. First, I think human review is non-negotiable. So if your answer is, "Oh my gosh, I can't review this much code," well, don't generate that much code. Is that what you say to your developers in the past before AI, when they were doing check-ins and PRs? No, that you go through the PRs the way you go through the PRs, and if you either approve them or you deny them, and even that, there's AI to do all of that, right? But human review of non of AI generated code is has to be there, and no AI generated artifact ships without some validation, right? So that's one. If AI touched it, someone should own it. What I mean by that is if we are using AI to generate front end code, someone's got to review it. Someone's got to own it. A senior dev, junior dev, it doesn't matter who it is. By owning it, it means you understand the components or anything that's serialized, anything that's being built. You review it and it's checked in and someone stamped the approval, right? Third is governance must scale without output. So if the velocity increases 5 times, review must scale proportionally. And this is what I was trying to get to is if your answer is, oh my gosh, there's 5,000 lines of code, I can't review the PR, there's 5,000 content items being generated, I can't review them as a marketer. Oh my gosh, if they're making this many changes through AI, I'm legal, I am only one or two or three people in legal review. We don't have the bandwidth to do it. So the answer is you don't generate that much. So it has to be very proportionate to what you're doing. Verify before trust. So in this problematic situation, trust is earned through validation, right? So the more you validate, the more you can trust, the more you can understand your own process. So the more you do the PR reviews, you're like, oh, I kind of see it. I can add more in this solution architecture, coding standards. The next reviews will kind of show you how much trust you have in what's being generated. So the more you trust you have, the more you can be confident. And you can get more trust by more validation, but you never stop validating. And that's what these are all like what maturity sounds like. Um, and this is like an interesting concept, right? The difference between thriving with AI and the team struggling is not the tooling. Like all of us have access to the same tooling. It's the way we operate in terms of maturity. So high AI adoption with low governance creates chaos. So AI everywhere, generate, push with no checks and balances or very low checks and balances, you are going to hit some kind of chaos or issue down the line. High adoption with strong governance creates leverage. So if you adopt AI, but you have checks and balances, you have validation, which gives you trust, it gives you leverage to build more things, to do more things, to be confident in what you do. So most teams are experimenting. That's very normal. The goal is not perfection. The goal is guardrails. That's what we're trying to get to. This is where it becomes a little bit more stable. And that's the important part. Um, so we talked, I mean, this in my previous presentation, the whole question was, do we even need a CMS? I think CMS, AI is reshaping how we operate around a CMS, right? CMS did not become less important because AI came. It became more important. Architecture does matter. The governance does matter. The serialization discipline, ownership does matter. So CMS in this world is giving us that architecture, is giving us that governance, giving us that um, checks and balances with workflows and validation that we do need. And I do want to say AI is not a threat. Unsupervised AI is a threat. And that makes your role as a practitioner more critical because you need to be the advocate for adding these guardrails so that we can build better systems faster, do repetitive tasks in a way that it makes our lives easy so we can deliver better. Again, if anyone wants to pitch in, you can, but these are like some of the very basic questions, right? What has AI surprised your team with? What worries you the most in terms of usage of AI? And if you had to define responsible AI inside your CMS environment or like in your current environment, what would it look like? And I don't know if anyone wants to speak, but you're more than welcome to speak. Um, but if no one is going to speak, I will kind of speak to it a little bit. I think for me, having done this for a long period of time, what surprised me the most is what people with zero to no knowledge, little knowledge are able to produce. So I've had people come in from our customers like, oh, look at this! I built this site. Can you decommission the one which was built? And my immediate question to them is, no, I don't want to do that. Why are we doing this? I want to understand them more. So we've had a lot of conversations with these marketing orgs. Some people are even like these people sit in Excel spreadsheets all day long, but they're building sites for their own little orgs or the brand that they work with. And it's interesting. So they're like, well, it just only took me 2 days. I didn't have to ask anyone. I built this landing page. Um, so that's been the most interesting or surprising thing to me about AI is how someone who has no knowledge of React, no knowledge of anything is able to not only generate a site that they want, which serves the purpose that they want, they're able to push and deploy it. So they're using Replit, they're using Claude Code, mostly like Replit, Lovable kind of UI based AI to build things and push it out. And that's the most surprising to me. So if anyone else has anything to say about the first question, I would be more than happy to listen to. Like Rodrigo said, if you raise your hand, he can enable you to speak, or you can type your questions in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer it. Um, Second one, what worries you the most is, like we talked about in the entire presentation, I think it's the lack of governance or very low governance model will come back to bite you in the future, just because of the technical debt and the rate at which the technical debt is collected silently without you knowing, because you don't know. If you don't say it to your team, the teams that are building software together with you, you don't know who's using AI in which way to build what, to push it into this common repository that we are pushing up. We're having these production sites, they seem to work, but then all of a sudden we have an issue and then we spend days trying to figure out what went wrong, right? So for me, that's what worries me the most. How orgs use AI as an excuse to not value experience actually. Yeah. So that's a job market part of this question, which is interesting because I've had friends who have been architects for over a decade or so, and they're jobless right now. Like people in this industry trying to find jobs are finding it hard to find a job because everyone wants to do AI. Everyone saying, if I can do this with AI, it's not just how orgs are using AI. It's them thinking, do we need developers? Do we even need an agency to do the work anymore? Why can't my marketing group do it themselves? Or I have two developers, they can do everything if I give them all the AI tools. So Carlos, that is a very valid concern, and unfortunately, it will take a little bit of time for companies to understand that. Um, when they will understand, I have no clue, but it will be interesting. Um, and the last one, what would responsible AI look like? I think it's more of education. So not saying that, oh, you can't use AI at all. It's not going to happen, right? People are going to use AI whether you like it or not. If you restrict them on your network, they will use it elsewhere, whatever the thing is. But it's more of giving them the guidance. Here's what you need to know. Here's what the guidance is from the company. Every single person, you should use A, B, and C. Talk to your manager, talk to your team. Like if you provide guidance, and we've seen that. So one of our customers who's a pharma company, they have guidelines. Each one of us has to go through like 3 to 4 hours of this training, and I'm sure this training is being used in corporate America everywhere. But it talks about responsible AI. Here's what you do. Here's what you don't put in the prompts. Here's what you do put in the prompts. You can't share sensitive information with a public AI. And some even have an AI instance inside of their network where it's protected. It's their own instance, so it's protected a little bit. Some don't. But they are giving guidance to people on what they should and shouldn't do, what's considered ethical AI, what's considered unethical AI, company secrets, sensitive information, what's public, what's not. They're even labeling their documentation, emails, anything that's stored as in what's public and not, and only public information can be used inside of these AI prompts. From a development perspective, they are specifying that they still have to go through, every build has to go through pen testing, every build has to go through intrusion testing, all of the test cases have to be run, code coverage has to be over 80%. So that is what responsible AI looks to me personally, is when we give some kind of a guardrail and open a conversation with the people who are working with us on what exactly they should do with AI. With that, and I know Rodrigo posted a survey. Have your rate salary been affected since the surge of Gen AI? Uh, oh, some people's salary increased. I want to know whose. Um, General trend that I noticed is a lot more. It's harder for juniors to get a job in our field at this moment. The seniors who lose a job have to reinvent themselves a tiny bit more towards the AI tone in order for them to get a job. I personally haven't seen salary increases myself. From the sounds of it, it's more of a pay cut to get a new job, is the way I understood it, at least here in the United States. Um, but that's what I would say. So if anyone has any other questions, you can type it in the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. If not, um, so I work for Konabos. Konabos is the company Cameras and I built. So if any one of you have any questions, concerns, you can reach out to me on, I mainly use LinkedIn anymore, but LinkedIn, Slack, the Sitecore Slack. We're more than happy to answer your questions. All right, everyone's quiet. I put
Perfect.
everyone to sleep. That's my superpower.
No, that's amazing. Actually, wow, a lot of amazing reflections, I think. See, me too, completely. As someone who worked in the Sitecore space for a while now, what is your opinion on Sitecore's AI adoption strategy? And do you think Sitecore is doing enough to equip the partners and customers with the governance framework guidelines needed for implementation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a two-part question to me, right? I'll answer both of them. So one, with this new set of the agentic Sitecore AI, where they're giving you the agents, they're giving the marketers the APIs and the tools for them to do the work. It's a huge step forward from the Stream days. And funny enough, Stream was only like a year and a half ago, right? So that kind of shows us how fast things are progressing. So I think Sitecore is doing a great job of giving the right tools. But I don't think Sitecore is the one who should be setting the governance or the frameworks. It's just not right for Sitecore to do that because they're providing you the means to do it. Every company operates in a different way. Why would Sitecore want to give the guidelines? Let me put it a different way. I don't think it's right for Sitecore to give the guidelines to other companies on how they should be using AI. They should be using the tools, and I'm sure Sitecore internally has their own guidelines for their teams as to how to use a responsible AI. But the guidelines and governance should come from the individual company. So if I worked for Coca-Cola, for instance, it's Coca-Cola's job to make sure their legal teams, their C-suite provide guidance to the entire company, not only developers, but content creators, anyone who's using AI, and every single person from the person who's working in the plant how to use AI responsibly because I could be like, I could take production specs, dump it in Chat GPT and say, I'm doing this, the machine's giving me a problem, error code E45. That could be a violation because that's a private document which I'm not supposed to be sharing, but I just dropped it into Chat GPT to look up an error code, right? So I would say it's the company, the client customer company is the one who's responsible for that. And then Dirk wrote just a sample from my side. I built a new personal site for my smartphone in 1 day with email response, analytic integration, dashboards, and whatever. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what you can build nowadays with a few, but it's you understand the concept of it, right? So when you get the output, you're constantly asking questions, you're asking it to fix things, you're asking it to check things, hopefully. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of tools out there that let you build things extremely fast. Cool. All yours, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, there's so much to say about this. First, like I've been starting a project with Sitecore AI recently, and there has been a new content SDK, which is a big step. Um, but still, there's a barrier that is documentation. I think as you build, it should be taken as part of the features, the documentation, you know, so that people have a versioning. That's something they try to do, but it's scattered still. And AI is helping me to compile, digest all that, and interpret and be more productive as well as I do that. Um, when it comes to being so like making something that calls your attention, I think the capability to compile, digest, so like reg, extending, if you have a library that is a private library of knowledge that is there for years and has terabytes of documents that you can use to feed uh, a chatbot. It's very tempting to use AI, and you have to be very careful with the boundaries of how that will respond, and also have active um tracking of what is actually telling people. Maybe you have to use AI to analyze that because it's so much. Or maybe we have to hire more people to do that. I don't know. I just think it's very exciting. This is happening in our lifetimes, and hopefully we'll carry on. Well, I think if no more, there's one more for Diego.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I think I mentioned it in my. So the question is, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Sitecore's vision for AI within the market. Do you think Sitecore AI is enough? Are you hearing customers complaining about gaps with AI? It's a very interesting question to me because we've seen CMS companies try to retrofit AI into CMSs, right? So they started off with flavors of, oh, it can create content and add that bubble for every single field that's text or being able to translate content. But that's like so a year and a half ago. Everyone and pretty much every CMS has that, which is interesting. But I think the way Sitecore AI did it is it was almost like a complete reshuffle of it, not just so stream to me was that, right? Stream to me was adding capability on an existing CMS. But with Sitecore AI, the way when they showed the dashboard with the agentic part of it, being able to create your own agents, use existing agents, the whole marketplace, and the marketing API, that to me was not just something like Stream where you added on top of the CMS, but it was a whole new capability. Now, the interesting part of that is AI stuff is changing so fast. What was done 3 months ago is already old. And that's the part where we can see what will happen, right? All of these CMSs saying, I can do this, I can do that. The true test would be is how well they keep up with what's happening in the AI world. If they're able to do multi-agents, if they're able to run 15 jobs in a serial way, are they able to generate the UI for us too? Like it's how much capability that they utilize of AI. So I personally foresee if a company is keeping up with the AI trends, every time something new comes up from one of these like OpenAI or Anthropic or whoever it is, when that gets like a week or 2 or 3 weeks, start to see that into the product where in a month or so you actually see that feature being enabled in it. That would be the true test because now the focus is on companies like Sitecore to do it faster too. It's not just us, it's not just the customers, it's not just, oh, why can't you do this in a day? People are asking the question to companies like Sitecore saying, when can I have this? Can you give this to me in a month? And that's what the true test would be. Rodrigo already started playing the music.
Thanks,
Thank
Akshay.
you.
Thank you so
Perfect closing.
much. Thanks, Akshay, and keep an eye for the next edition of Sitecore User Group Brazil. Next time we have some qualified speakers like Akshay or much more. See you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everyone. It was a great session. Thank you.